Okay, so let's set the scene. Back in 2017, something really weird paid our solar system a visit. An object from interstellar space. They called it Oumuamua, and it basically showed up and broke every single rule we thought we knew about cosmic visitors. And here's the thing. The story isn't really just about some strange object. Oumuamua was more like a catalyst. The huge debate that blew up in its wake tells us way more about how science itself works, about that fundamental conflict and how we think. It's about what happens when the data just doesn't fit the neat little boxes we've already built. So this whole conflict really boiled down to two completely different interpretations. On one hand, you had Dr. Avi Loeb, a top astronomer from Harvard, who put forward this, let's be honest, pretty radical idea. What if Oumuamua was actually alien technology, an artifact? And then, on the other side, you had pretty much the entire scientific establishment scrambling to find any possible natural explanation, even if it was something we'd never, ever seen before. So why all the fuss? I mean, what made this thing so darn strange? Well, the data was just weird. First off, it was moving incredibly fast. But the real kicker was that it accelerated away from the sun in a way gravity alone couldn't explain. Now, that's not totally unheard of. Comets do that, but they do it because ice on their surface turns to gas, giving them a push, and creating that classic tail. Oumuamua, it had that push, but absolutely no tail. No gas, no dust, nothing.
And this is where a writer who goes by Zoran comes in. He really nailed the frustration a lot of people were feeling with the official response. He basically said, look, this isn't just about the data. This is about a deep, deep preference for comfortable, familiar explanations, even if you have to literally make them up on the spot to avoid a scary alternative.
So, what was this invented explanation that Zoran was talking about? Well, the leading counter-argument from the skeptics has a pretty cool name, actually. It's called the phantom ice hypothesis. This idea, sometimes called the dark comet theory, goes like this. Oumuamua was a totally new kind of comet we've never seen before. Maybe it was made of frozen hydrogen or frozen nitrogen. See, that stuff would turn to gas and give it that mysterious push, but it would be completely invisible to our telescopes. It's a clever solution, for sure. But here's the catch. It's based on an object that, right now, only exists on paper. And this is where Zoran's critique gets really sharp. He calls this theory a profound, self-serving leap of faith. I mean, think about it. The theory uses a complete absence of evidence, the fact that we saw no tail, as proof for an invisible cause. He argues it's a circular argument designed for one purpose, to explain away the weirdness, to deny the anomaly that's staring us right in the face. This criticism really gets to the core of Zoran's whole argument. It's all about what he sees as a huge double standard, a real hypocrisy in how the burden of proof was being applied. Okay, check this out. For the alien artifact claim, the standard was extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. They demanded absolute, undeniable proof. Fair enough. But for their own phantom ice theory, a hypothetical object that no one has ever observed, mind you, they seem to accept, well, zero evidence. That, Zoran says, is a massive double standard. In Zoran's own words, inventing a ghost to cover a failed prediction is not rigor. He calls this a priori certainty. That's a fancy way of saying you start with a belief. In this case, the belief that the universe must be lifeless. And you let that belief completely override the actual data you're getting. You're letting what you want to be true dictate how you see the facts. And this is where the story gets really human. Zoran argues that this resistance wasn't just some dry intellectual debate. No, he says it's way deeper than that. It's psychological. It's rooted in things like professional fear and our own built-in cognitive biases. He actually breaks this down into 3 filters. First, there's what he calls statistical comfort. It's just easier, The default setting is always a weird rock is simpler than a rocket. Then you've got reputational risk. This one's huge. If you're a scientist, sticking your neck out for an idea like alien tech, that's a career killer. You could lose funding, respect, everything. And finally, there's a cognitive filter. This is that pre-existing belief that we're alone, and it's so strong that our brains might just automatically ignore or reject any data that says otherwise.
Zoran even takes it a step further, suggesting this is happening on a physical, neurological level. The idea of a paradigm collapse, everything we think we know being wrong, could actually trigger a fear response in our brain that floods your body with the stress hormone cortisol, and suddenly you're not curious anymore. You're defensive. Your brain might even be physically filtering out the stressful information before you're even consciously aware of it.
So when you put it all together, he has this really powerful way of describing the situation. He calls his whole scientific pushback a comfortable cage built of statistics and fear. It's a structure we build to protect ourselves and our current worldview from a potentially world-changing truth. Okay, so after all of that, Zoran doesn't just leave us there. He throws down a challenge, a thought experiment he calls the Dragon Trial. And what it does is it takes this huge cosmic debate and makes it something really personal for all of us. It's a 3-step process. Step 1, identify your own phantom ice. Think about a belief you hold really deeply. Anything. What's the go-to, unproven assumption you use to protect it when someone challenges you? Step 2, notice your reaction. When that challenge comes, what's your gut feeling? Is it, that's interesting, or is it that spike of stress, that need to defend? And finally, step 3, apply equal standards. Start demanding the same level of hardcore proof for your own comfortable idea that you demand from the new, scary idea that's challenging it. And really, that's what this all comes down to. The story of Oumuamua isn't just about astronomy. It forces us to ask a really tough question about ourselves, about how we handle information that threatens our core beliefs. So the question for you is, how often do we invent our own phantom ice just to avoid a truth that might change everything?